Hey yo, what's the deal? It's me again, Drew Brown, the professional coach, and you are listening to the Professional Chronicles. This is episode 2 of the Professional Chronicles, and today we're talking about college Drew. We're still connecting the person to the professional and diving a little deeper into the why of this brand and why everything I do. So this is episode 2, College Drew, and we're just gonna get right into it. So the college Drew is a very interesting person. When I got to college, I didn't have a high school diploma because when I was leaving Douglas, I still had classes that I needed to take because during my time at Douglas, I missed so many classes that I had to take years of school over again because I just missed so many different classes. I was just ditching so much. So when I got to Langston, I didn't have a high school diploma. I almost lost my financial aid, and so I had to take this test. I forget the name of the test, but the person who put me on this test was Mr. Jim Wallace. Um, he told me to go take this test, which would be it's a GD equivalency test, and this test would gain me access to my financial aid. So I went, I took the test, brought him back the results. He told me, "Nah, it's not good enough." And at that time of my life, I could definitely say basketball shaped me in a way that, if I didn't make it the first time, I wasn't afraid to get back up and try it again, run those wind sprints and you don't make it that first time. And it's like, dang, I feel like I tried my hardest, but it's like, the coach telling you to run it again. So, it's like, well, I guess I got to make it. And that's kind of how it was for me in this test. So, boom, I went, took the test again. I brought him back the results and I showed him, he asked for my other results from the first time, and I gave them to him as well. And he looked at both of them and he said, "Well, why you take it again for? You passed it the first time." And I was like, "Man, you told me to take it again." But that's how Mr. Wallace was. He would try to push us without pushing us, if that makes sense. So he had to kind of trick us to get us out of our own way. And what he could see from those test results and that first test that I gave him, that I didn't try very hard. I did just enough to get by, and he knew that that's not good enough. That's not going to cut it. And he was trying to push me as a young Langston student, and he definitely did. So yeah, I always appreciate him for that. But anyway, when I stepped into college, I definitely walked in with a lot of confidence just because of basketball, but I had no clarity. I was just a young man trying to become someone, but I didn't really understand how. When I got to college, back in '03, I didn't know what a major was. I didn't know how to take notes. I really didn't. Understand the rhythm of college work. I wasn't dumb. Like I said, I was just unprepared. I had missed a lot of school. I missed a lot of schooling, a lot of class time. I say that laughing, but it's no laughing matter, man. Like I miss a lot of class time. So when I got to college, man, I was just like lost. Eventually I dropped to like a 1.5 GPA. Langston put me on academic probation, and so I ended up going to Rose State College eventually. And when I got to Rose State College, I learned how to take notes. And I also learned just how to get into the groove of being a student. At Rose State, I was around a lot of adult students. So they weren't like your typical 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids. These is 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50, sometimes, close to 70-year-old people that you go into class with. So when you got group projects and stuff like that, it's almost like being at work. And, I'm glad I could respond to it the way I did because I felt like if I didn't, it would have hindered me even further. But I can say that college was the first place for me that I realized I didn't know anything. When I got to college, I just didn't know nothing. And when I finally accepted that I didn't know anything because I used to think I knew everything. Um, it helped me push forward. I had to take a lot of remedial classes. I started out with 3, and it took me like almost 3 years to get rid of finish all the remedial classes because I was just not applying myself at all. It wasn't that I, lacked the potential, it was just I lacked the tools, the discipline to do it. But those classes, those remedial classes definitely saved my life. I got really good at math and I can say math is one of my favorite areas of study. Sometimes I just do numbers just to be doing them. I like playing around with numbers. But anyway, um, when I what was it? So I bounced around a little bit. So I know I'm all over the place, but anyway, I went to, I came to Langston. They went to Rose State. They came back to Langston, and then I left Rose State. I left Langston to go back to Rose State to try to play basketball. But during this year, this was in 2006, they pulled the basketball program. So I stayed at Rose State from '06 to '07, and then in spring of '07, I went down to Bacone College, made the basketball team, and so I went to Bacone College, and I ended up leaving there after the fall of '08 because I didn't have any more eligibility. But I had a great experience. Shout out to Coach Foster, Coach Juan Davis. Thank you for that experience. Met some really cool, man, some amazing people down at Bacone. My boy L, my boy Lamontrick Wayne, my boy DJ, man, Chad, Tyler, shoot, Derek, man, I got really cool with Derek. Me and Derek played together at Rose State, and we also played together on the men's leagues team. And then our sons also play together on their high school team. So that's just some of the people, a few people I met. I guess plenty of others, Ronnie Battle, Trini, Tone. It's a lot. I met a lot of good guys while I was down there at Bacone College. So I'm forever grateful for that experience. But because I wasn't playing basketball no more, I wasn't going to stay out there. And this is when I definitely got into my final phase of college where I took the biggest growth um, in my college career. While I was at Bacone College, I did start reading. I read the Bible, not the whole thing, just from Proverbs all the way through the end. I read Enough, the book Enough from Juan Williams. And I also read that book Black Pain. I forgot that woman's name that wrote it, but I was just reading books. I just now started reading. And when I got there, at Bacone College, definitely that time I had to myself, I started back reading. I really got deeper into reading books. And when I got to Langston, I was a totally different student. When I got to Langston helped me build my own system. A system where, we're not afraid to ask questions if we don't know something. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know, we're going to ask a question. I definitely learned that just being in college. Understanding how things are structured before I get to looking at what's inside of it. How is it structured? Sometimes things can be structured in a way that give us the allure that we understand the content that we're looking at without understanding how the content is structured. So that's something I learned when I got back to Langston University. And then also how to take information and break it into small wins, taking big pieces of information and then breaking it down into small digestible segments to learn something that I can apply to get to the next level that I'm trying to achieve. During this time was academics. So yeah, and then also practice until it sticks. Don't stop. One of my key studying methods was to write down the words, then type those words, and then print them out on a piece of paper and then read them, and then type them again. That's when I had to take those hard multiple choice tests and all that. That's what I did to study to make sure that I passed the test and I understood and knew the information. Um, I can say that you know one of the biggest areas I grew from, when I was able to apply my ability to learn was during my time as a SIFE student at Langston University. We had a pretty good SIFE team. We ended up winning regionals one year and we made it to the national competition. Well, we didn't win, but it was a great trip. Went to Minnesota, got to see the big mall with the roller coaster. I went to the club, was walking around downtown by myself in the middle of the night. So I had an amazing time. Langston, I would say Langston University and being a part of SIFE, it took me to New York City, where I was a participant of the Thurgood Marshall Small Business um, competition, where I won a grant for $10,000. It also took me to California, through SIFE. Just being a part of the they had the international competition, and I got invited out to that. So those are some of the great things that I can say that I took from Langston University as a college student. I definitely was able to just learn to lean into the discomfort. I had to stop pretending. And when I confronted what I didn't know, I began to master it. Sometimes I feel like if I didn't figure it out, that college would have probably pushed me out that same door that I walked into. And if I quit there, then I wouldn't have developed the confidence I have I can say has helped me shape me as an adult. So, college Drew emerged, wiser, sharper, and definitely more self-aware. I wasn't perfect, but I was prepared. And I wasn't certain, but I was definitely capable. And I could definitely say that I was prepared and capable because of my time being a part of the Douglas High School basketball team. If you know, you know, man. Coach Long, one of the greatest coaches ever. But yeah, I would say the key lesson I took from college was success doesn't belong to the smartest people. You know, it belongs to the people who are not only willing but are you know, ready to learn. If you're ready to learn, you can definitely be successful. But if you're not ready to learn, you're not gonna be successful. It's just hard. And that's what you know, college Drew came into. So next we're gonna talk about corporate Drew and just you know, where it kind of started because it kind of overlaps with college Drew, but you know, it was definitely corporate. So yeah, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you took something from it. Comment, like, subscribe. Tell me about your college experience. Let's talk about it. If you was a part of SIFE, you know, comment below. Let me know about your experience. With that said, that's all I got. I'll talk to y'all later. All right. Peace.